my God. Promise we ain't coming down. Same thing for the crown, same thing for the team. Breaking down any op, only caring about what God say. Mobbing hard with the tribe, yeah. All the glory to my Yahweh, all the glory to my God, yeah. Praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, they go low and we go high. They play ego limbo on the other side. We keep humble, ain't no honor in your pride. Lying in me, lethal weapon on my side. Praise my God, promise we ain't coming down. Same thing for the crown, same thing for the team. Breaking down any op, only caring about what God say. Mobbing hard with the tribe, yeah. All the glory to my Yahweh, all the glory to my God, yeah. I did my toe and now I'm fresh, yeah. Shout out to my Abba, yeah. I follow, no regrets, yeah. They ain't learn their lesson, I'm still blessed when disrespected. Father got me eating while they out here looking packaged. Ugh, you just mad I ain't following Twitter D. Looking at me like enemy, only like in vicinity. I'm so high with the energy, yeah. You follow his way, yeah. Follow his way, yeah. Laser light so never.
Yo, what's going on? What's going on? Peace, peace, peace. I hope everybody's enjoying their day. I hope everyone is enjoying their day today. Been a pretty nice day. The weather's a bit frigid out there, so I'm not out there. But I wanted to come to you guys and talk to you about today's topic, which is the situation that's going on in Capitol here out in Washington, which is not too far from myself. And I want to bring to the attention of the um, the mentality that's going on in the Republican Party, which is blocking a lot of Americans' ability to be able to get funding due to the government shutting them out of getting work as well as shutting them out of keeping employment as well as keeping their homes. Basically, our government is creating another lower class, another percentage, adding percentage points on our poor and lower class and those who are below the poverty line. There are a lot of people who were below the poverty were just right at the tipping point of the poverty line, and this entire year that we've been dealing with the coronavirus has sent them right over the edge. So the mentality that's going on in the Republican Party is that Americans don't really need that much money. We can't even afford it. As to why I really want to talk about Rand Paul, because he has a record of being a deficit hawk. And what did I mean by deficit hawk? Anytime the government wants to do any kind of spending, uh, he literally either doesn't vote for it or he votes against you getting any kind of funding in the government. He just is against government spending, but of course that government spending is only for things that help out his pocket. I'm gonna pull up right now what I have on the screen. I don't know if you can see it, but this is Rand Paul's basically his Ballotpedia page, and if you look, it'll give you all the information, how many years he's been in government, all of that. And I want you to kind of look at to the right side of the page, and later on when you review this video, this live stream, I'll put this information in the description bar. But if you look over here, his base salary is $174,000. His net worth is $398,000. So clearly, this man has money in the bank and money to spend. Now, one of the things that a lot of people are having an issue with is the fact that these rich politicians, with all of their kickbacks that they get from the lobbyists, the kickbacks that they're getting from from their party, kickbacks that they're getting from donors, all of these things, these kickbacks that they're getting, right? Because I'm pretty sure he's making more than that. But a lot of people who are wealthy and have money in that type of tax bracket, they know that how to hide their money. So again, um, a lot of these men who have this wealth are telling you that you can't have a small piece of the pie when you need it. So again, I'm gonna transfer over. This is another piece of information dealing with what his income bracket is. And as you look right at the top here, and I might end up blowing this up. I'm gonna blow this up. Let me blow this up for you guys so you can really see what it is that I'm talking about. And this is coming from opensecrets.org, which is showing you the personal finances of Rand Paul, who is the son of doggone it, I can't remember his father's first name. But I actually agree with his father in a couple of areas. But if you see right here, we're looking right here. In 2018, as of 2018, this man was making $773,000, $520. And some people are like, why you pocket watching? Well, it makes sense for us to look at how much this person's net worth is, because on the Ballotpedia, it was only telling us that it was like 3 something. Here we're looking at the numbers. It was $773,520. So again, these people who are making way more abundance than the average American, they're telling you that you don't need a stimulus check. You don't want a stimulus check. If you get a stimulus check, it's going to hurt our economy. Even though we've been told so many times before that our economy was the greatest economy it ever was before the coronavirus. And if we open up the country, we'll be back to where we were. Well, that's granted underneath the President Trump administration. I don't know what Joe Biden is going to do for the economy. I don't know. But the astounding, and it's not like these people don't know that you're not working. It's not that they don't know that every business that has to close and will close is facing closures permanently. It's not like they don't know this information because they're being briefed on all of the statistics daily. They have cabinets and people in their own personal administrations to give them this information. It's the fact that they're ignoring the actual information that's given to them. We all know, and it's not anecdotal. Again, I tell you, here locally we have a list of all of the business shutdowns that have happened during the coronavirus. And the reason why we're closed is not because anybody wanted to. So right now I'm looking at the average median income of Americans. So let's look at this information. Just pull this information up, and this is just here where I am. The median household income of where I am is $88,562,000. That's where I am. That's where I live. Now, again, I'm telling you this because this is where I live. I told you guys before where I live and where I am. As far as my household, I'm fine. I'm okay. But I want you to know that I'm doing this because it is astounding. Just because I'm okay, I got cousins, aunts, uncles, a mother, I got a father, I got a sister, a brother. I have family members who are suffering because they can't get work. They can't get work due to the coronavirus. They're laid off due to the coronavirus. They are very fiscally affected by the situation going on with the coronavirus. My wife and I are okay. We're fine. But it's the American people as a whole that I'm thinking about. This is how I can sit here and say Rand Paul is an issue. Because he's sitting here as a deficit halt, as he's always been, in the middle of a national, international, and we can no longer say this is a national crisis. This is an international crisis that is happening worldwide. So everybody is in the same, everyone is in the same type of boat. No, everyone has had to close down. The world economy, for the most part, is shut down. If you're not internet living, then you're not shut down. But what about those laborers who companies have had to shut down? What about them? What about the many people who are already, again, almost right at the above the poverty level before this started? What about them? Because we know that Rand Paul, as far as his income, he's in the top 10%. He's in the top 10%. So now I'm switching over, and you probably can see this. This is the median income as of 2019 from the census for Americans overall. $68,703. This is the median household income across the board for all Americans. Rand Paul makes more than me, people in where I live, even though we have people who are out here making six figures and whatnot out here where I am. Even though we have that here where I am, the median income for Americans across the board is $68,703. Now, this is before the coronavirus. Now, let's think about what the median income is now. That no one is really, the majority of all industries is shut down. We're working at almost a third capacity of almost every single industry here in America. But Rand Paul is telling us that we don't need a stimulus check. Let's go to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this video. I'm going to pull up two videos. One is when Rand Paul was on Fox News Business. This is him talking to Fox News Business. And then the other one is going to be what he said. He gave a speech. The other one is a speech that he gave on the floor. So I want you to, it's not anything that is secretive about how he thinks about you as an American, about how he thinks of you as an American during a crisis.
COVID relief and government funding, Senator, the bipartisan $900 billion stimulus package apparently on the table. It includes individual checks, around $600 to $700 a person. No state and local or business liability protection is included in this bill. Negotiators are close to an agreement on a $1.4 trillion spending package to avoid a government shutdown on Friday at midnight. What can you tell us about all of this, Senator? Where are we? Do you support
The one
these
thing
deals?
that the one thing you typically get compromise around here for is spending money we don't have. Last year we spent 3.3 trillion we didn't have. We had to borrow. This year, this new package, and I suspect it will pass, it'll be $2 trillion more in additional debt. So it's a problem. I don't think this much debt is good for a country. We're up to 138% of our GDP with our debt. So there's a real problem where we are, and there's going to be a day of reckoning. I don't support it. I think the way that the economy opens up and the way the economy can recover is simply by opening up again. There's no science to keeping schools closed. There's actually no good science that keeping the restaurants closed is doing this. In fact, there's no real science that anything we have done has changed the trajectory of this other than the vaccine. And so it appalls me when I see these so-called TV doctors on other channels saying, oh, just wear a mask. You don't need to get a vaccine. The mask is more important to protect you than the vaccine. Well, 80% of the people getting the virus that are positive with the virus have been wearing the mask the whole time. They'll tell you.
One thing I want to say is what he totally lied about is there's nobody telling you not to get a vaccine. Almost everybody is actually telling you to get a vaccine. There are no TV doctors saying that the mask is more important than a vaccine. The reason why we're having this issue right now is because we didn't have a vaccine. What is he even talking about at this point? He's not even talking about science.
You, we wear it all the time and we still got it. So it is malpractice to tell people the mask is enough to protect you. People should go for a vaccine, absolutely.
Yeah, and also to say that the science.
And one thing I want to point out, this is Fox Business. This right here is Fox Business. So look at the bottom of the screen. Look at what our economy is doing. Our economy is up at this point in time. So it goes against what he's saying, where he's saying, oh, the economy, it's going to hurt the economy, this, that, and the third. When the economy went up, when we actually gave stimulus the last time through the CARES Act, it went up. So what he's talking about makes absolutely no sense. It makes absolutely no sense when the stock market already was up in the first place. We can look at the bottom of the screen and see that it's up. It would be red, and it's up. Almost everything they flashed across the screen has been up. Almost every single thing that they flash across the screen, as he's telling you the economy is not going to be good if you get stimulus checks.
Science tells us to close down restaurants. Where do they get this?
It's arbitrary, it's capricious, and it's an example of
Oil up.
authoritarianism. That's why we should never give so much power
Heat
to one
oil
person.
up.
Yep, Senator, it's great to see you this morning.
Natural
Please
gas
come back
up.
soon. Thank you so much.
Again, it's sickening to sit here and think that because we're spending some money on the American people, we're automatically going to have issues in the future. The GDP is going to go up and down depending on how we run our government, how we do internationally as far as trade. This is why it was so important when Donald Trump came in and he was saying the stock market was doing great, because what he did was create a structure here in America that our money wasn't going to other countries, and we were doing more exporting. We were doing more exporting than we were doing importing, as well as we were creating situations for our country to be able to make money in these trades. This is why the trade deals that Donald Trump was restructuring were so important. The trade wars that he had during his presidency were very important because it added to the GDP of our government. So what are we talking about here, Rand Paul? This is not what we need right here for Americans. This is not what we need for Americans. And again, You can look at his voting record, and we're going to look at his voting record very, very soon because I have that pulled up too, and I'm going to have that information in the description box below. I'm going to have that in the description box, the links to all of this information, so that you can see for yourself.
In Kentucky.
Republicans like to mock modern monetary theory, the idea that government can print money with impunity, that government can spend whatever it wants without the need to tax.
And I'm going to stop right there because what he didn't understand, because Jordan Powell came out and said that right now during the depression, we were looking at deflation of our economy. So if we're experiencing deflation, we actually can print more money to bring us up to the standard of where we were before. And then when inflation happens, it's not going to affect us as much because we experience so much deflation. We're not experiencing inflation right now. There are more goods being produced than we have people actually buying them. So all of those goods are depreciating. This is why we have deflation going on.
Modern monetary theory is basically the Dick Cheney deficits don't matter crowd, trussed up with a new fancy title. Most Republicans rightly lampoon this quackery, that is, when they're not practicing the quackery themselves. Today, many of these same Republicans will vote for a bill that makes modern monetary theory look like child's play in comparison. The monster spending bill presented today is not just a deficits don't matter disaster, it is everything Republicans say they don't believe in. This bill is free money for everyone. Proponents don't care if you're fully employed or own your own house or own your own business. Free money for everyone, they cry. And yet, if free money were the answer, if money really grew on trees, why not give more free money? Why not give it out all the time? Why stop at $600 a person? Why not $1,000? Why not $2,000? Maybe these new free money Republicans should join the Everybody Gets a Guaranteed Income caucus. Why not $20,000 a year for everybody? Why not $30,000? If we can print up money with impunity, why not do it? The Treasury can just keep printing the money. That is, until someone points out that the emperor has no clothes and that the dollar no longer has value. To so-called conservatives who are quick to identify the socialism of Democrats, if you vote for this spending monstrosity, you are no better. When you vote to pass out free money, you lose your soul and you abandon forever any semblance of moral or fiscal integrity. So the next time you see Republicans in high moral dudgeon claiming and complaining about spending of Democrats and socialism, remind them if they supported this monstrous bill that really the difference between the parties is less Adam Smith versus Marx and more Marx versus Engels.
And this is my biggest issue with Rand Paul, because he understands the economy. He understands economics. Wholly so, totally so, he understands economics. But then he turns around, but what he's not telling you is this is not an issue of socialism. We're not changing the way that we actually are doing the economy and how we interact with the economy. We're asking for a one-time payment to the American people. This is not the what did Andrew Yang produce? The freedom dividends. This is not the freedom dividends. This is literally a one-time payment to American people so that they can be able to survive until we can get the economy up and running again. He's totally dismissing that entire point. Totally dismissing it. Talking about well, what we don't know if what if they're still working? What if they have a house? What if this? What if that? That doesn't even matter. Because the way that this thing is even set up is if you're making a certain type of income, you don't even receive the checks in the first place because you don't need it. Again, Rand Paul and people like him in the government are the reason why in this coronavirus people are losing. Not losing on a small, minute level. Their entire lives are being changed by the government, both state and federal. Because state governments have a lot to do with what's going on as far as it goes to the shutdowns and everything. But the federal government, who gives guidance to the state government on what to do, is also not funding any of the government in a way that is helping the American people. Talking about our kids are going to foot the bill. Our kids are going to foot the bill. Rand Paul has no clue. And by him being a deficit hawk, just like most of the Republicans right now who are cringing at the fact of giving $2,000 when they just voted unanimously for the CARES Act to give you $1,200. They voted unanimously for that. And I can't even say unanimously because we're going to look at his voting record and we can see that he didn't even vote. He just didn't vote for it, which is basically him voting for it. He just doesn't want to be on record for voting for it. And these are the sly things that they do. They'll vote for something, they'll be with something, and they just won't vote for it, so they won't be on record for voting for something. This is the sly thing that they do when it comes to our government and how they do things because they want to protect their seats. Instead of protecting the American people, they would rather protect their position with their donors and not their constituency. The people who voted for you are hurting. Probably not in the county that you live in, because you probably live in a county where everybody is making about $800,000 a year, $300,000 a year, $100,000, probably not more than $100,000 a year. They're making more money than they need right now, and still making that money. Because there's a lot of people who cashed out during the coronavirus, and they fat cats right now because they've made their money, and they don't care whether you have. So right now I'm looking at, this is Rand Paul's voting record on justfacts.votesmart.org. And this is his voting record. And when it comes to the National Defense Authorization Act, he voted no. When it came to the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett, he voted yes. Nomination to the Supreme Court, yes. On the 25th and the 26th, and it gives you the dates here. Now, I want to scroll down, and we're going to look at what he did when it came to the Family First Coronavirus Response Act. He said no. Providing for congressional disapproval of Chapter 8, Title 5. I don't know what that is right now. I have to look into it. But when it came to the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act, he didn't vote. He just didn't vote. Because, again, he didn't want to go on record and say no because it goes against everything that he's wishing. Now he's out here running around in front of Congress, on the floor, talking about American people don't need no money. We just need to open the government back up. We just need to open back up. the coronavirus isn't as bad as it seems. This is what he's telling everyone. But the reason why a lot of these measures are put out there is to protect people from the coronavirus. Now, I know there is an issue when it comes to protecting people's freedoms when it comes to the coronavirus. But right now, yes, in certain places, there is rising numbers of the coronavirus, but these are places that weren't affected during the original coronavirus outbreak. They weren't affected during the original coronavirus outbreak. So these are internal, places in Middle America, places like Alaska, places like Hawaii that are not really connected to the mainland that are getting affected by the coronavirus now. But again, you have to keep up with this stuff in order to even know that. Rand Paul makes more money than the average American. And because he makes more money than the average American, he doesn't care about the average American. He's fine. He's isolated in his own peer group, and it allows him the ability to tell you no when you really just need a simple yes. So when is this going to end? When is this situation going to end where we get rid of these politicians like Rand Paul, where when we actually need help from our government, when we actually need it, the people that we need in government are not in the seats we need for our government. We need people who know how to open the purse when it's time to pay for the check, the bill. All they have to do is fit the bill. They're asking for a one-time payment. The economy will go up. There are many economists who've come out and said that the stimulus, not only putting money into the pocket, direct payments in the pocket of American people will help the economy. It just makes sense. That's just basic economics. And how we don't understand basic economics here in 2020 when we have a plethora of information out on the internet. How are we still having this discussion? There are people who are here in the East Coast where we have a very cold winter this year. It's not as cold as it was. It has been in a couple of years. But it's pretty severe. I'm not going outside. But there are people who have to live in their cars in places like New York and Maine and places closer to the North Pole. And they're suffering, all because our government ceased to act when they needed them to act. Like, share, and subscribe. And I beg to ask this question of anyone who's watching this. What do you think? What do you think should be happening in our government? How should our government be responding? And why is it that people or senators like Rand Paul are still in office? Again, like, share, subscribe. Love your neighbor as yourself and love God with all your heart. Peace and blessings. I'm out.
Praise God. Praise God. Praise God. Praise God. Praise God. Praise God. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, they go low